Upset are the Germans about the 1966 World Cup?
Well, very, I would say. Well, they would be, for surely, I would have thought, a proud nation like the Germans.
They were upset at the time, but I said, how upset are they? They barely remember it. If you asked every German who won the World Cup in 1966...
Yeah, they're pretending.
No, because the fact is...
World Cup? No, I don't know.
No, because we care about it, they don't. They care about their scores against Holland. That's their big thing. They really, honestly, if you ask the average German, they're just 66. They really don't know. Oh, did you? Well done, you know.
International...
For us, it was like everything. Wow, we won. But they, in 1974, beat the Dutch, and that, to them, was the one they really, really care about.
But they surely, the Dutch have never provided a great deal of opposition to them. Generally, in history, they've just walked into Holland whenever they fancied it.
Oh, in that sense.
Any time they want, they just go into Holland, which is just like spin the windmill. I haven't mentioned it yet! I was talking about the great Geschmertzslip in 1762, where they just walked into Holland, but they can just enter. Oh, I'll mention the War of Holland. You have to. Surely they're denying their true rivalry, which will be with us.
Why?
They're in denial.
We may think that, but it's up to them to decide. I mean, you can't force
they're
a German to care about whether they beat us or not.
Well, they bloody well should.
Yes. I'm sure you're very upset by it, but, I mean, they just don't care that much. And there are other things like the sun lounge hogging with the towel.
Yeah.
Is that something you've actually experienced?
Yeah.
There's some picture of it.
These are some of Alan's holiday photos.
It turns out that a German lawyer called Ralf Hooker actually did a study, and he confirms that we think it. But Germans are blissfully unaware of their reputation in this case.
No,
but
really?
a study by Halifax...
I think they don't care, is the right description of it.
They just don't... They don't know that's what we think of them.
They
but
think
Halifax Travel
it's
Insurance...
just common sense
Yeah.
to go down before breakfast and basically at dawn.
It turns
take
out
all the beds around the pool.
that Halifax Travel Insurance in 2009 confirmed with the study that Germans are the most likely to reserve sun lounges with towels. And which nation do you think is the second most likely to?
The Dutch.
The British.
The British.
Yeah, very close.
Who turn up 10 minutes later and go,
exactly. Well, the French and Italians and Portuguese are having breakfast and not really
Well, and
caring.
also they're in their own countries.
Yeah, well, that's... that's true.
Enjoying the lovely food and weather.
That is highly true.
Speaking of football, Alan, Romesh, who is the most successful Arsenal manager of all time?
Is it me?
I want it to be you.
No, that's Bertie me. He was one of your most famous managers, wasn't he?
Well, in terms of winning trophies, it's Arsene Wenger.
Do you follow football,
Not
Rachel?
at all, but I'm willing to participate in this conversation.
OK.
Timothy...
Say George Graham.
George Timothy Graham.
Rachel? It's not George Graham.
Herbert Chapman.
Steffi Graf.
Weirdly, Rachel is heading closer to the correct answer than anybody.
Oh, really?
I know.
Martina Navratilova.
So
Williams.
it is women that we are...
Vic Akers.
It is Vic Akers, absolutely right, who founded the Arsenal Ladies Football Club. He managed it till retirement in 2009. Under his management, the ladies' team won 32 major honours, including the FA Women's Cup 10 times, as opposed to Arsene Wenger's management, where the men's team has won 7 FA Cup titles.
Vic Akers is the kit man for the men's team, and he always wears shorts no matter what the weather. So on my podcast, we refer to his genitals as Little Vic and the Acres. He's greatly loved, Vic.
Well, what a fantastic track record. I mean, 32.
Astonishing. It's I mean, at the time, hardly anyone else played women's football, must be said.
Well, there was a time in the 1920s when there were 150 women's football teams in England, and they could draw bigger crowds than the men's teams. The reason it all fell apart was the FA stopped women playing on Football Association pitches.
This team is Where's Wally FC?
This team is actually the Dick Kerr's ladies' team. They were named after the munitions factory where most of them worked. They were the first women's team to ever play in shorts. And my favourite player was a woman called Lily Parr, And apparently she was astonishing, but she was also a chain smoker, and she insisted...
Look at the length of that cigarette.
She insisted part of her wages was in Woodbine cigarettes. And sometimes she was known to play while still smoking.
Anyone know the score?
Of this game or something to do with football?
Something to do.
Is there football on?
Yeah, Arsenal are playing at home. It's a very inconsiderate scheduling, in my view.
Where is that, darling? Where do they play?
In North London, in Islington.
Oh. I was trying to sound interested.
Oh, we're 2-1 up, Sandy. We're 2-1 up.
Who are you
At
playing?
half-time.
Who are you playing, then?
Bournemouth.
Are they difficult?
Thank you very much.
Very, very difficult.
What's magnificent, Sandy, under your tenure at QI is how, as Claudia and I reach for our phones to check on our children and Alan checks the football score, those gender identities have been really challenged. Pushing back the barriers.
Quantum raspberry blower.
OK, yep.
5-1. 5-1, and I'm fucking sitting here. I can't believe it. We haven't won 5-1 for years. Sorry, I realise I'm still at work.
Is that all? United, the National Living Statue champions, Bob Dylan and a policeman from Coventry.
They're footballers. Is that our entire police force? Give us a clue.
Yes.
We do know it, obviously, but we're just struggling a bit.
It's about people standing still.
Ah.
Standing still. Oh, Bob stands still. That's the thing that he does when he's annoyed.
Really?
Yes, the silver people stand still.
Do the Leeds footballers have a goal celebration in which they freeze?
No, they stood still to let Aston Villa score.
Why? Why?
As an act of sportsmanship, which, for Leeds United, that's the first.
Is it the Coventry policeman is moving around a lot? Or, yes, he's moving around more than he should be. He's doing a bit of dancing. He should be just doing traffic duty or something.
Almost. They've all been praised for standing still, apart from a police officer from Coventry who's been criticised for jumping up and down. Why would he be jumping up and down? He's
trying
happy.
to get out of Coventry.
He's excited.
It was the trampoline. They were on a drugs raid or something, and...
Well, it sounds like it.
He was filmed, yeah, bouncing up and down. There's no actual visual evidence of a trampoline. So maybe he's just got very springy legs. But I think he's been disciplined.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A kangaroo court.
Let's have a look.
See, there's no trampoline in that shot.
Oh, he didn't get back up after that, did he? He could be jumping on the belly of a suspect.
Why has football team Leeds United been praised for standing still?
Oh, I know this one because...
Yes. Ian, I think it's Aston Villa, isn't it?
It's quite an interesting act of
Yeah. They allowed their opponents, Aston Villa, to kick off and score a goal uncontested, a tactic Scottish football fans are familiar with. One Leeds United player did try to stop Aston Villa scoring, Pontus Jansson. He's a cult figure there. Have you heard the song about him?
No.
It goes, Pontus Jansson's magic, he wears a magic hat, and if you throw a brick at him, he'll head the fucker back.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Here are the living statue champions. This is live footage, it's a video.
That's impressive.
Did the runner-up come as a tree?
Why did Bob Dylan stand still this week?
He does get grumpy these days. I mean, he was always grumpy, but he's got more grumpy.
Well, the singer stopped a concert this week to scold fans for continuously taking pictures and ended up having to hold a pose to make his point. Well, as part of his rant, he said, "We can either play or pose, okay?" Unfortunately, none of the above was not an option. After admonishing the public, Bob Dylan stepped backwards and found himself tripped up by a tiny speaker. Now he knows how Theresa May feels.
Who cooperated with the FIFA inquiry?
The English.
Yes, no one except the English and the Australians, and definitely not the Russians or the Qataris.
We never get it, do we? We're conducting... Oh, yes, we'll help. You're guilty.
But why... I mean, why would anyone believe the Russians could be corrupt? But why didn't they cooperate with the FIFA inquiry?
Because they destroyed all their records by accident.
Yes.
As you do when someone says, I'm conducting an investigation.
It was simply that the Russians were unable to provide more than a few documents from the bidding process because the computers they used during their bid had been leased, they were returned and subsequently destroyed by their original.
We must bid for the World Cup. First, we must rent some computers.
Qatari Mohammed bin Hammam undoubtedly paid money to a delegate from Tahiti specifically to vote for the Qatari bid, but why have FIFA dismissed this as irrelevant?
But they said he wasn't acting on behalf of the Qataris. Despite being Qatari and described by the Qataris as their greatest asset in our bid for the World Cup, he was not acting for them. Thank goodness FIFA sorted that one out.
But in this instance, they know he paid money to a delegate to vote for the Qatari bid, so that it's definitely to do with the Qatari bid, but they dismissed it as irrelevant because they said this was only one vote out of the 13 required and therefore could not have been significant. If the ballot papers of 1/13 of the British electorate were forged, that wouldn't be relevant because it couldn't affect the result.
No.
I mean, it's not funny, but these people are arseholes. What, according to the FIFA report, did the English bidding team do that was so worthy of condemnation?
They organised a gala dinner for Warner and generally sucked up to him.
It's almost sweet, our pathetic attempts to bribe them. We sponsored a dinner for Caribbean football to the tune of £30,000 and found a part-time job for a friend of Jack Warner. That's the Jack Warner that the Qataris paid over $1 million to. I think they got a signed copy of your book as well. Did you see the exchange of emails between some of bin Hammam's staff as the allegations of corruption first surfaced?
No.
Well, they appeared in the Sunday Times. It starts, I need you to start shredding his correspondence. So soon? Yes, start from now. There are 3 years of filing to be shredded. Just do it discreetly, OK? What about the request from the Russians to shred?
Worst omen you can see on a football pitch.
An omen?
Yeah. Are footballers superstitious?
Is it a young woman with a list of allegations?
But is there something about the markings on the field that are significant to occultists?
It's to do with the many superstitions that are associated with football. 1990 World Cup.
Right.
There was an Argentine goalkeeper called Sergio Goycochea.
Did he have a body part of an animal or something in the goal net?
No, what happened to him was Argentina's quarter-final was against Yugoslavia and it ended in a draw, which meant they had to do penalty shootout. He needed to wee, but he wasn't allowed to leave the field. So his teammates surrounded him and he had a wee and he then blocked 2 penalty shots. So the coach thought this was a marvellous thing, took it as an omen, and he went on to urinate on the field again with his teammates around him before the semi-final penalty shootout against Italy. He blocked 2 shots and they went on into the finals, but they lost the finals against West Germany because...
He didn't urinate.
He didn't wee because...
It didn't go to a shootout.
He didn't go to a shootout.
Wasn't Germany's winning goal a penalty?
It was a late penalty and it was in the main body of the game, so he didn't have time to wee.
Didn't have time for a wee?
No.
When they stood around him, did they look in or out, do you know?
Do you know, I always think I've got all the information I need for this show.
Do you think he was a bit self-conscious?
Well, because he might have been wearing somebody else's underpants. Apparently that's a very common footballer thing, is that they swap underpants. Some of them wear them inside out.
Do not. Was it Barry Fry who weed in all 4 corners of the ground? Do you remember that?
Yes, I believe that is a fact that Barry Fry, whilst manager of Birmingham, perhaps weed in every corner of the ground.
I thought you said Barry Cryer.
We're off to the match, and it's penalty time. For the best chance of success, where should you aim?
At the ball.
And then into the goal. I'm so bad at sport, my inclination would be to... I know where I'd hit it, so I would then just reverse my natural inclination. That would probably be the best.
It's a bit of game theory going on, on yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I'd go top right, which means that probably the best way would be bottom left.
Top corner either way is not the best.
Is it at the goalie?
Yes.
Because he's going to jump.
Because he's going to.
Yeah.
He's going to go.
Because the goalkeeper nearly always goes one way or the
So
other.
you hit it straight in the middle.
Straight down the middle is far and away the most statistical likely way of doing it. But it's odd because footballers know this, because it's been, you know, obviously well gone over, and yet footballers don't.
Is it because they just think they'd look so stupid if they kicked it right at
Yes.
the keeper and the keeper just caught
If
it?
the 1 or 2 times out of 100,
Yeah.
the goalkeeper does actually stay in the middle and the ball goes and hits him, the crowd would just boo their heads off and think that the penalty taker is the biggest idiot in the world, although statistically he was doing exactly the right thing. So they'd rather not look a fool. You're
Because
absolutely
it's
right.
seen as 50-50. Whether if the goalie goes the correct way and saves it, it's still seen as all right, isn't it? It's
Yes.
It's bad luck.
In fact, it's 57% in one direction, 41% in the other. You know which that might be?
Left,
left.
right.
It's 57% left, yes.
'Cause
They
you're
go
left-footed.
left
Yeah.
more
Right
often.
foot.
And 2% in the middle. 3 countries have an absolute 0% success record in penalty shootouts. They played 2 and lost 2.
San Marino?
No, it's Gabon,
Micronesia.
Romania and Chile. But there's one country that's taken part in more than 2 and has the worst record of all in the world.
Is it
apart from
England?
those 3. And it's England.
Yeah.
Why is
What
that?
a surprise.
No,
It's 1-1.
We've won 1 out of 8. 12.5% success rate, as opposed to Germany, who've won 83% of theirs.
Why is that then? Because presumably all teams have access to that very simple statistical information. Is it just the fact that it's now embedded in the psyche?
Mentally weak.
No, I'm not. Do you think hypnotism would help?
Probably.
Of the keeper?
I think if it was me, I'd stand by one post, feigning indifference. And as he ran out to take it, I would sprint to the other post, surely distracting him. And if he did go that way, it would hit me on the way past.
That would do it. Yep, that's the plain truth. To be successful in penalty shootouts, either go straight down the middle or be German.
In happier football news, why were 240,000 Leicester fans on the street this week?
Because homelessness in Leicester has gone through the roof.
They're very happy.
Yes, delirious.
Yeah, because they've won.
What did they win, Ian?
They've won the thing.
What is the thing called?
They've won the Premiership. I know this.
Premier League.
You're not allowed to call it the Premiership, am I right?
Why aren't you allowed to call it the Premiership?
Well, they changed. It was one of those branding things. They changed it quite a few years ago.
Right, I see.
And they get a little bit upset. if you call
The
it Premiership.
Premiership's now called Sir David Attenborough.
Yes, they were celebrating Leicester's extraordinary success. There was a performance, actually, from local band Kasabian, a gospel choir singing football songs, and, of course, superfan Lee Jobber with his top off.
Oh, yeah.
I see he's mimicking the trophy from behind by the bulges. Bloody hell. They might get relegated next year. That'd be funny, wouldn't it?
Which football team does David Cameron support?
Aston Villa.
Well, he doesn't really know, does he? And he claimed to be an Aston Villa supporter, but then he said this in a speech.
Where you can support Man United, the Windies and Team GB all at the same time. Of course, I'd rather you supported West Ham.
He seemed to realise he'd said the wrong thing.
How did he explain his mistake?
I don't support West Ham or Aston Villa. I'm no interested in football. We played rugger where I come from. But a lot of people watch football, so I pretended to have an interest in it in order to gain their votes.
Is Sepp Blatter standing down? Do you think he'll stand down?
He's not the standing down type, I would say.
I think he has support outside of Europe, doesn't he, within the world football, so
Yeah.
he's likely to continue.
Did you hear his defence,
No.
which was along the lines of, I cannot monitor everyone all of the time? You know, the Rebecca Brooks excuse. What happened at the end of Sepp's press conference?
Did he just hand out brown envelopes and say, you know what I mean?
Actually, he signed off his speech ahead of dancing girls coming onto the stage. We must continue to fight for positive change in football, even when some among us let us down. So please enjoy our show.
But it's a triumph for the American justice system. I noticed we did nothing at all.
No.
I mean, Andrew Jennings, brilliant journalist, wrote a book in 2006 about this called Foul. We've known FIFA and the Sunday Times turn them over every week and the Sunday Telegraph. Nothing happens. In America, stealing money is a proper offence.
Yeah.
Dawn raids, 7 of them in Switzerland. Fantastic. Men with FBI suits.
Yeah.
But you're right, they don't muck about, the Americans. If they encounter corporate fraud, if someone's found guilty of corporate fraud, you know, they get jailed. Whereas over here, they instantly get Alzheimer's.
Ryan Giggs has spent an awful lot of money to ensure that he's become world famous for stuff other than football.
Yeah.
But people still might be sued for telling people that it was him, so...
Yeah, well, that's right. The MP, John Hemming,
yeah,
he said that apparently 75,000 people named Ryan Giggs on Twitter. It's not possible to arrest them all. Well, I mean, it's worth a go, though, isn't it? I mean, well, the thing is, the injunction is still in place.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Despite the people keep going blabbing it out, there's a legal expert, Joshua Rosenberg.
Yeah.
This is what he had to say about it, right?
Well, the law is clear. There is still a court order in force which says that we can't name Ryan Giggs as the person who brought these proceedings.
I'm pleased we can say his name, though, because I was getting so fed up. Every newspaper, every day, it was like, Imogen Thomas has been having sexual liaisons with a man who cannot be named. It's like, what, Voldemort?
Yeah.
I sort of see why he did it as well, Ryan Giggs. Because you get the super injunction, he knows that if his identity was known, then people would know not only who he was, but also that his marriage was on the rocks. And at that point, John Terry would be round his house like a sex-crazed wicked.
Yes, the worst-kept secret in Britain is finally out. Lawyers are a complete waste of money. As the row unfolded, thousands of Twitter users named Ryan Giggs in what the Daily Mail called one of the biggest acts of civil disobedience in modern times. Top that, Syria, lightweights.
Any other Scotsman had a bad week this week?
Well, David Moyes hasn't had a good week.
That's the answer to the question.
Oh, well done.
Have a point. Somebody's going to step in as a sort of caretaker, do you know?
Ryan Giggs.
Ryan Giggs.
Even I know that.
Yes.
Are you allowed to say his name in public? Rather you than me.
Andy Gibbons tweeted, Ryan Giggs' first role as Man United manager will be to check the fitness of all the players' wives and girlfriends. Who's not interested in that job? Do you know?
Oh, is it Sir Bruce?
It's Jurgen Klopp.
Oh.
He's ruled himself out, but he's asked if his brother Clipperty could be considered.